The EU is an expansionist organisation. We're opening the door to the Ukraine presently. We've just allowed in Croatia, where there's donkey carts in the streets in parts of the country. The idea that anybody in Brussels seriously wants to see Scotland leave, then come back in again, is flatly absurd. Now, there is a process to go through, and we've always been very clear about that, and that's set out in the White Paper. Parallel to the White Paper, the government's issued a particular European document to allow people to really kick the tyres of what we're proposing. And what we're putting forward is that there is a process to go through whereby we go from being a region of a member state, as we are presently, much as I don't like the term, to a member state in our own right. That will need to obviously be agreed with the other member states of Europe, and indeed the UK, because there's a process for the UK too. So what we're setting out is in everybody's mutual self-interest. The EU is a pragmatic organisation. There is not a doubt in my mind that we've got ample time after a yes vote to negotiate with the UK, and parallel to that the EU, to take up our new status. My MEP colleagues are coming from all points of the political spectrum, all points of the geographic spectrum, and if you call it the democratisation process, so I think about the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Greek junta, the fall of the anti-democratic governments in the Franco regime in Spain and in Lisbon as well. A number of my MEP colleagues have not just been through a democratisation process, an independence process, they've actually led it in many cases. So I'm sitting down with the Slovenian MEP for lunch, who not only faced down Yugoslav tanks as part of his country's independence process, he led that discussion. They wouldn't call the king their cousin, none of them. They're all part of the European family of nations. Scotland's one of Europe's oldest nations, but we're not a member state in our own right. Now, I think that's just a wee bit odd compared to where we could be. But the MEPs, everybody is professional. It's very unprofessional to get into anybody else's domestic discussion. So myself, even when I'm in Catalonia, when I'm in Wales even, I support democracy and I support people's right to choose what sort of government they have, but I certainly wouldn't intervene in that way. So everybody's paying attention, everybody's looking closely at what we're doing. But the main thing I have to say that they're hearing from these islands is Nigel Farage and UKIP and the prospect of Britain drifting towards the EU exit. And there's real concern in Brussels about that. And this is where I think the European campaign, coming as it does 3 months before the referendum, will, I think, underline to a lot of people in Scotland just where the drift of the UK's politics and the UK's attitude to Europe is going, and why the vote in September is so important to safeguard Scotland's relationship with the EU. I simply do not see anybody actually having any interest in vetoing Scotland's democratic right. Frankly, if the EU didn't exist, we'd need to invent something that would look pretty similar, to my mind. So let's start from that standpoint. We want to be engaged, but we're now seeing across both sides of the House of Commons the Labour Party talking about immigration in some fairly ropey terms. The Tories have been doing that for ages. And look at what the Tea Party did in the US federal level government, not by being the government, but by terrifying those who are. We are seeing that the UKIP effect is creating a shift in the balance of where politics is down south in a decidedly anti-European direction. Now, I think that's diminishing our influence as the UK. I think that's diminishing our standing within the European framework. And I think that's a worrying place for us to be.